Welcome to Season 2 of Heart of the Gulch. On today's episode, we sit down with interior designer Aimee Lee Kinssies from ALK Designs and Interiors. We talk about the science of living in the home and the importance of designing and renovating your future living space. In today's Walk the Line episode, we get to check out a before and after of Aimee Lee Kinssies designing an apartment in the famous Broadway West building in Midtown. Let's check it out. We are in the heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and today, oh my goodness, so we have a lady in here with an eye for design. She has been published in magazines. Actually, I got one right here. We got the Nashville Interiors magazine. I'll zoom in on that bad boy right there. And then also she started off originally as a property management and then went over to renovation. And then she got her degree in interior design. And now she's the founder and owner of ALK Designs. We're talking to the one and only Aimee Lee Kinssies in the building. What's going on?
Thank you, Tony. That was an amazing introduction.
Well, I appreciate it. So, you know me, I can never hold back a secret. And you know I'm going to tell these guys exactly what happened. So, we had an amazing interview months back. Can you imagine that? I looked at it. It was February 2nd.
I remember that.
And there was so many issues that was happening in the studio. We had lighting issues. The camera just had so much data on it because we did everything in like super 4K.
It was our practice round.
It was our practice round. But how are you doing, Aimee?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm excited because I've gotten to work with you behind the scenes for your Walk the Line episode.
Yeah, you got to see behind the curtain.
I got to see literally everything that you guys are able to put together. And then also, I cannot forget, we got Blair in the building. Blair, say what's up. We're going to have Blair on the show as well. But all right, so Aimee, I want to go down to the beginning of you growing up in Ohio. So talk to me about the little town in Ohio where you're originally from.
I'm from Warren, Ohio. Lived there for 5 years. And then we moved to the country and my parents bought a 12-acre farm that was built in 1912. So like all the glory of those old stone houses. And we had a menagerie of animals. We had up to 7 horses at one time. My dad sled raced Siberian Huskies. So we had 15 Huskies. We had a Corgi. We had a German Shepherd. We had multiple barn cats and indoor cats. So I grew up an animal lover.
That's like a dream
from the get-go. We were always rescuing like baby birds or baby bunnies.
What was your favorite animal that you guys had there?
Just my horse. Her name was Brownie. Her birthday was May 2nd. Mine's May 1st. She was almost as big as a horse. So she was called a Pony of America. They're like just a couple hands is like the measuring unit for a horse. She was a couple hands short of being like a horse. But she was like, had Appaloosa markings. And I would go out there early in the morning when she was, sometimes she would sleep like laying down. Sometimes they sleep standing up, I think. But she would.
Sense.
Yeah, she would be laying down in her stall, and I'd go in real quiet, and she'd like stay laying down, and I would just lay down next to her, and I loved her so much.
Well,
love that horse.
I think the way you grew up was kind of a dream for a lot of people because a lot of people want land. A lot of people want to have, a bunch of different variety of animals. I think about my girlfriend. She wants to have a, what is the hairy cow? The Highland cow.
My sister-in-law has them.
Oh my goodness. See, man, Highland cows are just one of the cutest things you can see.
So cute.
And now on Instagram or whatever, there's like these weird little gerbil things from like some weird town. I forgot what they're called. There's something with the C. But anyway, so let's get down to you. So,
I'm intrigued. We both are.
Chinchilla? No, it's not a chinchilla. Blair
I
said
had
it was
one
a
of those
chinchilla.
too.
Really? You had a chinchilla?
Before I moved here, right before I moved to Tennessee, I was living in Ohio, my boyfriend at the time, and I had a little black chinchilla named Rocco. They're nocturnal. And they like to eat woodwork. So he had his own room and he ate all the baseboards. Definitely a renter's nightmare.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Now,
Beware.
You lived pretty close to Cleveland, right?
Yeah, about an hour south of. Southeast.
How often would you go to Cleveland?
Very often, actually. My mother was she went back. She really inspired me as an adult. When I was a kid, she went back to school in her mid-30s, which is exactly what I did. She hadn't ever finished her college degree. I don't know that she ever even went right out of high school. She did, but she didn't finish. And she went back for art history. So Cleveland Art Museum is like second to the Met in New York. I mean, a lot of these big, art collections come over from Europe. They hit New York City, they go to the Met, and they go to Cleveland Art Museum, and then they go back to Europe. And sometimes they go to Chicago, but a lot of times they have some exclusive collections. And it's an incredible museum. I think I liked going there as a kid, but I also hated it because we were there so much, and my brother and I would just be like standing all day, tired,
an
complaining.
Acquired taste.
And Cleveland, I love Cleveland actually. And I remember like all the good things when I was a kid, and it's had a renaissance. So I still love going there. We don't go very often now. We don't make it up. But it was funny when we were kids, my brother, he's 2 years younger than me, and he would just like touch everything. And in a museum, if you touch something, it sets an alarm. So security guards were literally following us around all the time. But yeah, happy memories. And also just gave me an appreciation for art. Now going back there with my mom, and after studying art history a little bit in school when I was getting my design degree, her and I just connect so much on that. And it's really incredible to see something that was painted in like 1200 BC.
Yeah, it's
or 1200 AD.
It's amazing to see. Actually, I was talking to my mom about this yesterday before you were on, and we were talking about so many different type of architectural designs from history. Believe it or not, we went through a tangent talking about how different design has been, how different from sculptures. It's always evolving. It's from our last conversation, what I learned about design is that it's a living, breathing thing, and it's forever changing, and it has a flow to it, the
just
science
like we are.
to it.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it. But I want to know, variances between Cleveland versus Nashville. You transitioned to Nashville when you were 21, but talk about the differences between the two cities now.
Gosh, I love both. I think I've always loved the city, so I love the direction that Nashville's going. I mean, it was very charming, and I've always loved Nashville. And a lot of people feel like Nashville is changing, and it is, but changing for the bad. Personally, I don't feel that way. I think it's a really beautiful place for people from all over the country that are now flocking here. Our restaurant scene is incredible. And you know what? The restaurants that have been here for a long time, like City House,
yes,
or Park Cafe or Lachlan Table, like those places are still just as good as they were when they first
dominating.
Opened. They're my favorite. I mean, if we go out to dinner, a lot of times we go to Lachlan Table or we go to City House, like I said, just because we know every time it's going to be good. And City House is a James Beard Award winner. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not bitter about Nashville changing. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of really beautiful people moving here.
The food, I know that this is something that is brought up all the time here in Heart of the Gulch, and I'll tell you this right now, and Blair, you're a foodie as well, so I know you are. Blair, real quick, what is your favorite place to eat in town?
Margot.
Oh, I love Margot.
Why?
Love Margot. They change their menu every night, which I love, so it's very like seasonally fresh ingredients, and it's real close to where Ollie and I live.
Yeah, and it feels very European there.
Very European.
Yeah.
And now, one thing I'm realizing is that as I've been living here for now 4 years, and Nashville, I've been saying that I was going to leave Nashville for the past like 2 years. But the problem with Nashville is that they continuously have so much stuff coming to the city where it makes it so hard, because you think about towns like Cleveland, you think about towns like San Antonio, where I'm from, there just isn't as much growth. And there isn't always coming with new items and new ideas and new restaurants. I'm the biggest foodie. So I see your point, and I see exactly what you mean. And but going towards your time transitioning to Nashville when you were 21, what was the first place you worked at?
Well, Opryland Hotel for like maybe a month-ish.
Talk about the countertop that fell on you.
It was my first night cocktail waitressing. I was 21, and I was also a lot shyer. I feel like the jobs that I had for the next like year, couple, like just being in the food industry, I very quickly, so I started out as a cocktail waitress, and Opryland Hotel, there's a mile-long tunnel that no one knows about. Like, for all the staff in the hotel, they park way away from the hotel, and you go down in this tunnel, and you walk to work, so no one's seen coming and going.
Wow, I never thought of that.
You had your locker, and then you just pop up to the restaurant when it's your time to work. The first night I was working, I was so nervous because, like, I was kind of scared of people at the time, and had no idea. I never cocktail waitress. I don't know any of the liquors. I don't know fine dining at all. I'm from Warren, Ohio. And this larger group came in, and there was this little marble cocktail table for 4, and I needed to put a couple tables together, and I pulled it, and it wasn't attached to the pedestal, and I literally pulled the slab of marble off. It crashed onto my toe and cracked the marble top in half my first night, an hour into my shift.
Oh my gosh.
I was so embarrassed. I cried in front of...
Yeah, because doesn't that hurt? Marble is one of the hardest things in the world, and
my toe was, I don't think it was broken because I could walk on it after a while, but I was just so embarrassed. Now if something like that would happen, it would hurt, but I would shake it off. I've like broken a coffee carafe because of my purse in the Well coffee shop in a huge room full of people, and everyone stopped and looked at me like I was some Karen. Well, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Well, I will buy you a new one, please.
When you think about what you do today, right, for interior design and being able to change rooms and change the flow and change the feeling of a room, I mean, there are going to be casualties. There's going to be casualties in items that you purchase and everything. So, I mean, this is just me making fun of it, but maybe that marble falling on the ground really just was the thing that got you like, okay, this is what you're going to be doing from now.
Maybe. Also, if you have a marble tabletop, make sure it's screwed to the base. Like,
you could have sued. No, you're not going to sue. Now, okay.
So now we look out for that.
Yeah, now we look out for marble countertops. I feel that. Now, talk about transitioning that to your property management time and career. I mean, I'm sure that was farther down the road, but
so I started college right out of high school at Kent State University in Ohio. I went for fashion merchandising, and I thought I really wanted to do that. It kind of just lost the magic for me like a couple years in, and I was working instead of going to class. So I actually flunked out of college going into my junior year. They sent me, I had made my schedule for my junior year. I was going to be taking Italian. I'm obsessed with Europe and everything old world. So super excited about doing that. And I got a letter from Kent State saying that they were giving me a mandatory year off and that I could come back after a year. But so I was devastated and embarrassed. I was always like on the honor roll, like enrichment classes all through high school and elementary. And so that was a real blow to me. And I was like, what am I doing?
It was work. Work kind of got you out of the group.
I was working for a telemarketing company, MBNA America. They like give all, anyway. So
it was just working that got you kind of out of the flow of being studious.
No one was making me, but I liked making money. And so I thought I could just kind of phone it in at school and go to work. And I missed more than 15 classes, and they automatically flunked me out of class, and I had already not done well the previous semester. So you get 2 bad semesters and you get the boot.
Well, I mean,
at least back then you did.
But so you said you've always been interested in the old world, right? So for the people out there, like I wouldn't know this until you actually said that. So old world being Europe and that area overseas, right?
Yeah. And romanticism and, pastoral.
Some of the things in history that you look at now and kind of get some inspiration from.
I think anything in like any old architecture in any old city like New York or Chicago, we have a lot of great architecture here, but the old, I'm obsessed with history. Okay. So I think that Europe has so many, buildings that were built in 1200, 1400 that are still standing. And I'm obsessed with how, the lives that lived in those buildings and the beauty and just an appreciation for how those things are made and carved, and it's incredible.
What about in the past, let's say 200 years back, right? What's been your favorite era of design? Because like mine, I think about what is that inside Art Deco. Art Deco, I love it. And then also now today, modern. How modern, everything is so clean. You guys came into the studio right now and you guys saw that I like to keep everything super clean. That's my OCD.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite what's your favorite type of design?
Honestly, I haven't thought about, I appreciate all of them. I probably gravitate to things that are transitional, that maybe have like a classic background. I know that as far as like eras in Europe, French Provençal is one of my favorites. That's a really good question. I don't know that I've ever really paused and thought about it. I definitely love mixing rustic and modern together because I feel like I'm a texture girl, and I love to feel like natural woods and textured woods and wool and, things that like are naturally like just beautiful.
I mean, we talked about it last time, but I'm so curious because you say there's a science to living in a home. Kind of elaborate a little bit more on what does that mean, science of living in a home? Well,
they call it ergonomics. It's the way that things like fit your body, the way that you feel and move in a space. And so it's, if you've got too much furniture in a room, or if it's for me, I can walk into a room and I can tell when something feels like unbalanced. And it doesn't mean that everything has to be like symmetrical. You can do asymmetry like really well, but I don't know. I can't explain it. I feel like it's my superpower where I could just like feel things out, but everyone's different. So I'm always really curious how things feel to other people because I know how they feel to me. But so like in your kitchen, you want to make sure that you've got great pathways around your, a great working triangle between your places that you need to be the most in your kitchen sink, your dishwasher, your stove, and your refrigerator.
Is an island mandatory?
It's actually 4 corners, but it's called the triangle.
Okay. And then when you enter a room, let's just, for example, let's use the studio here, right? So the studio was an old apartment, right? And when you go into the studio, what's the first thing that you will notice going into an apartment versus a home? What's the first thing you look for?
I love a really beautiful, like I love a receiving area that feels done and welcoming and impactful. I feel like it's your first impression in a house. So I love designing foyers.
I was just about to ask, a receiving area. I've never heard of it as a receiving area. So you're talking about the moment when someone walks through the door, that one little section right there. Is that what you're talking about?
It's just like right inside your front door. Most of the time, some people have like a separate little, kind of chamber, like when you walk in and it's like its own little space before it opens up to the rest of the house. So I love to play with pattern and color. A lot of times I really love doing like a dark entryway. Frank Lloyd Wright used to do that. He's an old architect. He has a ton of architecture in like Chicago. You could do an architecture tour. And one of the things that he did was he always made the entry ceilings really low. So that when you walk into a house, it feels like an embrace.
Like a little tunnel going in?
Not even really a tunnel. Like it could be like a room as wide as this, but the ceiling might only be like 8 feet or 7.5 feet. And then as soon as you exit that chamber, walking into the rest of the house, the ceiling soars. And it was just his way of making people feel like it was like a warm hug coming in.
I love that. I never would have thought of it that way, but I'm curious to know your, from your eye for design. I mean, what are some of the things that someone watching this today, what are some things that they can do to their small space to make it feel grand?
So a lot of people are scared of using dark color in a small space. I don't feel like that is a rule that people need to stick to. I think that using dark colors in small spaces and then lightening with furniture. So you could do, like
lighting or lightning.
Well, a lot of people are concerned about doing dark colors in a room that maybe doesn't have a lot of light, like a lot of natural light.
Got it.
And is small.
Yes.
But I think those are some of the most fun places to do dark color, and do it everywhere. Do it on the trim walls, ceilings, because I feel like it creates this little like cocoon, or like a almost like a, you walk into like sometimes like a man's library or a study, and you just feel like you could spend all day in there. You get a book, curl up. those are my favorite spaces to design. It feels more masculine, so I'm very attracted to like masculine design. Leathers, dark colors. But if you're going to do that, then I think that it's important to be thoughtful about the furniture that you're putting in. I wouldn't put like a dark rug and dark furniture and just make it like a cave. I think you have to play with contrast in rooms like that. But,
I mean, we actually see it in our Walk the Line episode. You actually have inside the bedroom of the actual place that you guys are designing. You go into this bedroom, and you guys will see it at the end of the show right here, that the wall is completely dark. And it just feels like exactly what you said. It's a relaxing area. It's a room that has its own vibe. And that's what I'm curious about. Does every room in your home, does it have to have its own look, its own vibe, its own presence?
I like every room to be special in its own way, but then nod to the rest of the house in some way. I would say you don't necessarily, like, there's no rules. I mean, I think that's the thing that's the most fun about interior design is like, you can paint. You have a huge palette to paint with, color and texture and wallpaper and all these different finishes. And lighting is super important. Layering lighting so that you're not just relying on your can lights.
Talk a little bit about that. What's layering lighting? I don't know what layering lighting means.
When anyone says layering lighting, it just means providing light from multiple sources. So like most houses have recessed lighting, but a lot of times it feels really cold and kind of like, more commercial. And so table lamps are great. Dimmers are super important. We put dimmers on like every single light. I don't care where it is, even in a closet. Like I'm a mood maker. I feel like Blair is too. And what we do evokes emotion, and dimming lights creates an emotion. It makes somebody feel different. And that's why we do what we do. We really are like just people pleasers. Like we just really want people to be happy.
Well, you talk about that, and actually one thing that we've always realized, and from the last conversation we had, was how important communication is.
Oh my gosh.
In the world of design.
Yeah.
So I mean, one thing that and just you, I'm looking at you guys right here because Blair's right here. She's going to be on camera in a second. But one thing that's really interesting is that you guys communicate very well.
You have to communicate so well. And I was actually thinking about this on my way over here. Like, if there's one thing that I'm proud of what we've been able to create in such a short amount of time, but I'm also proud of our communication with everyone that we work with. Our communication has to be the best, and we're always trying to figure out ways to communicate better with our builders because there's a lot of money on the line. And there's a lot of responsibility to what we do, and we take it very seriously. And so just like being able to communicate our ideas, it's not just like, we're going to do this, this, and this. Well, we have to explain that on paper so that everyone knows what the plan is. And also just like, I don't know, we want to communicate well with our people. We believe in our team and everybody that we do business with and our clients, and we want everyone to feel like everyone is equally important. We all make it happen.
I love that. And then, I mean, one thing you just talked about, a lot of people assume that interior design is the after part. Everyone thinks that when you construct a home, create a living space, that interior design is actually the after part, but that is not necessarily the case. And some of the best interior design work come from working with the builder.
Yeah, right? And the architect.
So talk a little bit about that, how, and you're kind of shutting that down from everyone thinking that it's the last part of the process.
Yeah, I love it when I can be involved in a project from the beginning, when it's just like the plans are being drawn. Usually, architects are amazing, and I will never do what an architect does. And I feel like we have our own niche of like what we do. So I love to be involved, but I also really respect architects and what they do. It's incredible. So I love you can absolutely have a designer come in at the end when a project is built. But there are a lot of opportunities to change, lighting locations, create more of an ambiance with extra lighting, maybe add trim walls. And, a lot of times that stuff has to be done during the framing phase. So I think having a designer in the beginning is, if I were building a house, well, I would be the designer. But if someone,
As you should.
if someone were building a house, I would recommend, hey, maybe get with a designer, because our job is to listen to like what our clients want and then kind of drive the project with the architect.
How big are the teams typically? So when you think about, because everyone has different budgets, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about, because
Budgets are important.
budgets are super important. Talk a little bit about budgets and how you're able to expand a budget, but still having that same vibrance in interior design.
I think it's just I'm terrible at budgets personally, and professionally.
Don't tell them that.
Professionally, it can be hard to stick to a budget. But again, it's important because money is not unlimited.
No, it's not.
And, you know, we want our clients, I don't want my client to like go, you know, $100,000 over budget or something.
And you pick quality pieces, though. That's the difference. So it's not about, and trust me, like I said, guys, you will see it at the end of this episode, but you pick some of the most qualiest.
Yeah, we want quality. But we also sometimes we need a quick turnaround, like things to arrive quickly, which, you know, that can pretty much not be custom furniture. So we find trusted vendors that we know the pieces are going to be quality. They're not going to be fully custom. And then sometimes we have clients that are willing to wait, you know, 8-12 weeks for custom pieces. So I think it's a game of balance, and it's like, you know, you just pick the areas where you want to spend more money and then rein it in secondary areas.
Where should you spend the most amount of your budget in a home?
You should always spend the most in the main area. So I would say a balance between like the main areas where you're going to have guests. So your kitchen, your living room, dining room, powder room, which is easy because it's a small space.
Not
Foyer.
the bedroom?
I was going there.
Okay, my fault. I was breaking it. Go ahead.
Primary bedroom for sure, primary bath, and then the secondary, and maybe like a bonus room. But usually like the secondary bedrooms are places where we still want it to look perfect, picture perfect, but we won't spend as much money on like lighting in there, or we really want the main areas of the house and the owner's suite to be super impactful, and that's where most of the money will go.
And then what about not taking away from the budget, but what areas of opportunity in a home that you can save a little bit?
I think those, like the kids' rooms, I think you can have a lot of, not to like, you know, kids, you're not going to get anything. But I do think, and that's not true if you're, you know, doing a bunk room for a kid. There's a lot of money that goes into doing like a built-in bunk.
Just having a kid, our good friends just had a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing really quickly that everything that comes associated with that child adds up everything from a stroller to a bunk bed to you name it. So not saying, but is that one area of the house where someone can take a little bit off the budget to say, let's spend a little bit more on the living area?
Yeah, I think it can be, I think those areas can be like a little bit harder to create on a budget, but you could still have fun maybe doing a striped painted wall, or like some kind of a wall mural, or maybe just picking one wall to do trim or wallpaper instead of wallpapering the whole room. I'm always an advocate for doing the whole room in wallpaper and even the ceiling. But if you're on a limited budget and you want a wow factor, I think you can do one trim wall behind the bed or cover it with wallpaper. We've done that recently on some Airbnb projects in WeHo in Wedgwood, Houston. And it really is great. It's like an artful moment at a fraction of the cost.
What can you do for your first time moving in somewhere to make a dramatic change to that
Oh my gosh, lighting. Lighting's probably the biggest thing. And maybe not replacing all the lighting, but like doing a cool big light. Like volume is really important to me. I like to do things on the large size or oversized pieces, like in a living room. It would not be uncommon for us to do like a, you know, at minimum, like a 36-inch diameter light fixture, and maybe all the way up to like a 52-inch light fixture, because I feel like that's a wow factor. And, you know, as you get bigger, the light fixtures get more expensive, but that's a really great way to spend money in one place and like have it completely change a room.
What about, so also you think about that age demographic, right? That 25 to 35. they're just starting to get out of the IKEA phase.
Yes.
Now, but talk a little bit about, if you're looking to spend a little bit of
IKEA
money,
too.
How is IKEA? Sadly, Nashville does not have an IKEA. It's in Memphis.
Yeah.
But, does IKEA help at all?
I had like an IKEA bedroom set, which it was the Malm. It's like MALM, and it was like a platform bed. It had these cool like pull out nightstands, and it had like this like platform top, so I could put picture frames, and it was like perfect until I got into my 30s. And but I didn't necessarily, I never loved an IKEA sofa because they're the most uncomfortable things I think sometimes to sit on. I would say Sprint's furniture in Nashville. You would think that Sprint's, like, I think just because it's a big furniture store, people get intimidated, like they're going to, have to spend $5,000.
Right?
It's on White Bridge. They've got the Sprint's family. Wendy Sprint's is amazing. She has things priced so great, like very, very competitive, and it's a really high quality piece of furniture all the time.
I love that.
So they have a couple locations, Sprint's or like Meridian Furniture. I think Bliss Home is another one. Envision Design is great in East Nashville. So those are all some really great places to go and look for quality furniture that is going to last more than a couple years and going to be comfortable.
And then also, when you go into every home, and when you go into a starter home, for example, is it better to spend most of your budget for the inside? Do you want it to always be the furniture? Should be the bulk of the budget? Or do you think that the bulk of the budget should be, around, like fixtures and mirrors and things like that, the more accessories? What do you think?
I think a couch, like a sofa. I'm like, the proper word is sofa. A sofa, a light fixture, but you can use, like sprinkle in pieces that people have like as accents. So your main pieces, like your primary bed, your sofa in your living room, a couple light fixtures. You can like those main pieces, I think, spend, focus on those. Maybe you don't have to spend a ton of money on them, but like focus on those. And, I think it's helpful to do it as much at once as you can. It's more money when you do it like that. It's really the same amount of money. And sometimes if you wait, even for us when we're designing, if we have to like break up a design, someone wants to do just one room or just one piece. We don't really take on projects like that anymore where we only pick a bed for somebody. We have to design the room, and we'd love to design more than just one room, because I think if you don't do that, it's really hard to like, your style changes all the time. And there's a disconnect between doing one thing 1 month and then 6 months later doing the next thing. It is more money up front, but it's really important to do as much as you can at once. Spend the money. You're going to love it. If you're going to kind of do like one piece and then one piece here, you're probably going to end up, it's going to feel disjointed and disconnected. Those are the projects that, to be honest, I hate them. I don't want to sound like a snob.
No, you're not.
But I do think it's important for like some consistency.
Exactly. And symmetry and everything like that, and all those big words.
Yep.
Now, one thing that I'm wondering is, while we were talking about this, is so let's talk about the variants in clients and what they may do differently in interior design. So like I said, my audience is that 25 to 35. Your audience is, a little bit more established. How different are both of those vibes?
Even though they're established, everyone wants to be responsible with their money. So we treat everybody the same.
Okay.
It's great to have a bigger budget to play with. But money is important. These pieces that, we want to make sure that we're ensuring that they're going to be quality pieces that people will have for a decent amount of time. And things do swap out, but a lot of things end up in a landfill really quickly. And that was one thing that, they were kind of beating into us when we were, not physically, but like when we were in design school. It's like, really try to educate your clients on why they should spend more money on pieces, because, like Stickley is a brand that's been around since like the 1920s, I think. It's Craftsman furniture. Those pieces are pieces that you can pass down to future generations. Like parents can pass them on to their kids and then reinvent them, reupholster them. Stuff that's coming on Wayfair, and I'm not saying that we don't do Wayfair. We definitely pull from Wayfair and overstock in like little areas where it's important, or if we're doing an Airbnb or something. But we try to keep that to a minimum because it's going to wear out really quickly. It's going to end up in a landfill. We've already got way too much stuff. I mean, we drive, construction, interior design drives landfill fill up. I think about how much debris is left over from a build. And those dumpsters, they're all going to the ground and getting buried.
You're absolutely right. And that's, speaking of which, I haven't talked to you guys yet. So, I never thought of it like that. So when you guys go through a community, right, and you see all these homes being built, and you see these humongous dumpsters of just a bunch of products that are just in there that just was excess sometimes. I mean, it is kind of crazy. I never thought about how much that actually causes and how many effects that may actually bring up. But I'm curious to know this. When you think about your client, right? So your client, and we're going to talk about the Walk the Line episode right now. So it was filmed in two different parts. It was filmed in the top of the year, and then just recently when we just filmed the last of it, the completion of it.
Yeah.
How hard is it to consistently have that eye for design in a situation like that, where it takes time for pieces to come into that build? Well,
we're doing the design fully up front, all at the same time. So we already have made the selections. We've ordered everything. It does, sometimes drag out where we'll have the bulk of everything and we'll install it, but we might be waiting 4 months on, like, we're still waiting on a bed for that primary bedroom and primary rug. Those are I think, in the dining table. So they just sometimes they trickle in. We try to get everything done, and then those things come in. So it's challenging to wait. Fortunately, our clients are usually pretty understanding. We can't do anything to rush that. We try everything. We try whatever it is, you name it. Like, I believe in keeping relationships great. We're not manipulators, but we're not going to fly off the handle at our rep, because we need our reps to come through for us when we need things. I mean, that's just not a good way to do business anyway. But
one thing I remember seeing from all the designs you guys do is you guys really focus on the bar areas. Or at least like little spots.
We like to drink.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
no, but I appreciate a glass of wine at the end of a stressful day.
What I mean by that is that you have little nooks that you guys really outdo it. Yeah. It looks great every time. And it's just, it's one of those little, I'm just wondering if you had to pinpoint, your flair, your design that's a little different from everyone else. What area of the house would you say that you focus on a little bit more than everything else?
Gosh, I don't know, because we focus on so much, but what I really love to do is try to do something cool with an otherwise unused space and make it more functional for the person that's living there. Like at Broad West, those units that you're talking about, we did do custom brass pipe shelving and tempered glass shelves for bars, because
it was gorgeous.
It was screaming for it, because it was already supposed to be a bar, but you have got glasses. And then, a lot of people, like one of my clients loves fine tequila. He wants to display those bottles. They're beautiful. And bourbon bottles. You're a bourbon guy. So I think that, that brings joy to somebody looking at those bottles, because they are like little art pieces. So I think, bars are really fun to design and add bells and whistles.
Books are, I've noticed this in a lot of and Blair, I know what you're talking about, because you like a good speakeasy too. Books make such a big, drastic difference to a just an area, right? Or would you say that books are considered the same little art pieces as well? Can you use them as art pieces in design?
Definitely. One trend that I love that people have been doing, and I'm not sure who started this, but you know, in like built-ins, like someone has like living room built-ins, turning the books around so just the pages show. And because then it becomes like this like artful moment. You don't see the spine, so you don't see really the covers of the books at all. They're just, you see the pages. So then it becomes like this layered textural, you know, visual on a built-in. I love doing that.
When are you finding oh, go ahead. Keep
well,
going.
no, I was thinking like, you know, what is it? What's the two ladies that do the organization?
The Home Edit.
The Home Edit. I think they are incredible. And I think, I know sometimes I blank, but they did like the whole. This is why y'all are
a good team.
Yes. She can read my mind, I swear.
We're going to get her on right now, but so you're.
What am I going to say, Blair? No.
How much you love me.
Well,
I do love that woman. So the Home Edit would do like the prismatic effect where it's like the rainbow color organization of books. So you'd start with red and then orange and yellow and bleed into green, blue, and purple. And that was a huge trend for a while. So now I think we're seeing more like the turned around books or all the same color book spines. So like all black or all white. So people have fun with that. So books are fun.
And then also, I guess my question is, where is your, when you're doing these different designs and when you're adding different textures and looks, I mean, what are some things that you may stay away from with design? There's got to be some things where you will not touch.
Gosh, it probably is more like colors. Like I don't use a lot of red. And
you
maybe
you like masculine kind of looks, right? So you like that little bit darker tone, that little I'm guessing leathery tone.
Yes, leather, woods, like heavy metals, antique glass, mirror,
and that's its own look by itself. So you are already changing the vibe of the building right there. So I mean,
it depends on people's personalities too. It's like really, it's just getting to know somebody in the beginning and ask a lot of questions and kind of feel them out. Like what gets them excited? What hobbies do they have? What are their tendencies? Like I do think that you can look at design and using a designer two different ways. There are a lot of designers that have their personal style and they do that and people flock to them for that style. Then there's other designers where they're, you know, I feel like hearing their clients and like interpreting what those things are and the styles that they are attracted to, and they're going to do that through their filter the best they can. So I feel like I'm one of those designers. I don't know if maybe there's like there probably is some common theme in like all the projects that kind of pull together and you know it's mine, but I don't have like a general look I feel like that people come to me for. Like I think we do all kinds of projects and I don't know, I have fun with that. It's like just getting to know people.
Well, you know what? Getting to know people, I want to get to know Blair a little bit real quick. So let's talk about, I want to know Blair's favorite projects that you put together.
Well, first I was going to say, I know one thing that Aimee would never use in a project that you always stay away from, a fandelier.
Wait.
I would never use a fandelier.
Wait.
Fandelier and a fan combined.
Wait, we're going to get...
Sorry, fandelier, like, come on, we gotta, I don't know, like, I would be open to it, but I haven't seen anything yet that I like.
Okay, let's get you on real quick. Can you hear the applause?
I can. Is that for me?
That is for you, Blair. What's going on?
Oh, just enjoying a lovely day in Nashville. I'm excited to be here, a little bit nervous.
Well, I know it, but you see, just like that. See, she turned on the moment that I put on the applause. So, Blair, first of all, welcome to the heart of the Gulch. I'm excited to know, y'all's dynamic because just sitting here, you guys are going back and forth. And just talk about, when you guys first met.
So Aimee and I first met probably about 5 years ago. I was working for a company called Loom Decor selling draperies, and I sold draperies to her over at Julie Couch. And we met through that, and she just has such a bright, shining personality that I was totally drawn to her. And fast forward a couple years later down the line, she needed a little bit of extra assistance. She was working with my boyfriend building homes.
Shout out to Ali. We're not going to leave Ali out there. Shout out to Ali.
And so she needed some assistance, and I threw my name in the ring, and then we've been working together for about 2 years.
2 years working together.
Yes.
I mean, what have been some of, the projects that have been so amazing to see come to fruition?
Oh, I've loved every single project that we've worked on. Most recently, we did a couple of Airbnbs, which are really fun. It was a little bit more challenging because it was a very tight turnaround on a small budget. So we really had to stretch like our creativity, which was super fun. And I work really well under pressure. So I like having those quick projects where it's like you're in and you're out.
Okay. And then did you also get to, so I've seen you guys work together, and I can see how challenging it is with the time frames and the movers and people that are coming in and out. How do you stay so focused in what you guys are doing? How do you guys not seem like you guys are losing your shit?
I think we do lose our shit, but we hold it together well, and you just have to power through. Like, on an install day, it's going to be a tough day. It's going to be a long day. There's not going to be a lot of sitting. It's a lot of giving direction. But for me, that brings me a lot of joy. I feel so fulfilled at the end of a hard work day. And it's helpful to have a boss who's just so easy to work with. And we do communicate well. And we are able to make even the hard days fun with, making jokes or taking little trips to get coffee. So we do find a way to bring like joy into even the tough stuff.
All right. And then also, what has been some of your moments when you guys are you guys aren't ever angry at each other, but I'm guessing with so much going on, with so much things going on, you guys can get a little bit, concerned. And how different are y'all's working personalities?
Our working personalities are pretty much exactly the same.
She's so much better than me.
I
lose my shit way more often than Blair does.
No, you don't. You don't lose your shit. But she has a lot more riding on her shoulders. Obviously she's the owner of the business. She's the one that has to pick up the pieces if things go wrong or pay the cost if anything gets damaged. So you have a lot more pressure. So I think maybe I am able to bring a little bit more lightness to the, darker situations. But that is because you're so much more invested in the cost.
What's your most favorite element of every design typically? Do you have a favorite part?
My favorite part, which used to be my least favorite part, is picking paint colors. To me, picking paint colors used to be so overwhelming because there's so many options, but that is to me what really changes the feel of a space.
Elaborate a little bit more. So what are some projects that you've worked on where you pick the paint color and you just completely transformed a room?
So, dark color. So I was working on a project with Ollie at Leverick Homes.
Shout out to Leverick Homes.
Woo! And picked out some dark paint colors for a laundry space, which, typically you would think like light and bright is what you want in your laundry, but it just felt so cozy in there when we added a dark color.
And then what are some things that, because you were talking about some things that Aimee may not use, but what are some things in design that you are not the most fondest of?
Any sort of log cabin-y type of furniture.
Really?
Where it's built with rustic sticks, like what you would see in Gatlinburg.
Why does not a lot of people
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love signs.
Laugh.
So are those little pieces that you have inside a home that is just a little too, I guess the term tacky, right? Are there some things that are a little tacky that some people may not, that focus mainly on design and focus on bringing everything together? Will things like live, laugh, love, or love, laugh, live, does that make it a little bit more you don't need that necessarily in your home?
Yes, pretty much. And done in the right way, it can work, but pretty much any sort of writing artwork is not our fave. It's just, but we did just do the other day this beautiful piece of art where it was out the name of albums for the last 70 years. And that looked super cool. It seemed intentional, but just all this stuff that you would pick up at, and I'm not dissing it, but stuff that you'd pick up at at home pottery or old time pottery or at home, just those just cheap knockoff prints. Though that's not my favorite. Art is super important in a place, and you wanted to bring in some of your personality.
And then we were talking about it earlier, but I'm going to bring it up because you guys have built such a strong relationship, and I already know this true through going out and spending time together and going to get some food. So I'm going to ask you, my favorite thing in this city is about some food.
Okay.
So what is your, we heard it earlier, but what is your favorite restaurant here in town?
My favorite restaurant. Well, I do have a lot of favorites because I love to eat out.
Talk about it.
But Margot is my absolute favorite. It's an institution in East Nashville. I live in East Nashville. They change the menu every night. Everything is seasonal and it's so good. And you can bring your own wine.
Ooh, okay. I love it. Who doesn't love that?
I know, right?
Now, what about the variances in sides of town? So we talked about this on our last time speaking, but you brought up East Nashville.
Yep.
East Nashville has a totally different vibe than, where we got the day in the life from, which is kind of that Midtown area.
Yes.
Talk about the difference in designs and just vibe.
So East Nashville, more like most of all the houses over there are ranchers, except for the new ones that they built, like the tall and skinny. So it's very lends itself to a mid-century modern style. And
then when you think about other neighborhoods, think about what's some of your favorite neighborhoods in Nashville?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm an East Nasty girl, so I love East Nashville so much.
What keeps you there so much?
I love the food. I love the people. I love the Greenway. There are other areas where I would love to live, but East Nashville is more accessible. Mm-hmm. But I just love the vibe in East Nashville. It's very unpretentious and just people just there being themselves.
You've traveled a lot. You have traveled a lot, because I've seen you and Ali go to some great places. What are some qualities that you see that East Nashville has that other cities in the United States do not have whatsoever?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I feel like it's almost like a quilt. It's like a melting pot of all these different types of people just living together in harmony. And I feel like you don't see that in every part of Nashville. Mm-hmm. Like 12 South. 12 South feels very commercialized and touristy, when it used to not feel so touristy.
Now, 2023, we're in the middle of 2023. What are you looking forward to yourself and then also in the business with Aimee? What are you looking forward to the most?
So right now, I'm really looking forward to, we have a couple of trips coming up, a couple out-of-state projects. We have one that's going to be in Maine and then one that's going to be in Chicago. So that's always really fun to travel and get inspiration from other cities and see what kind of furniture stores they have and what their resources are. And then we're also going on a trip to Miami just for fun with a big group of designers. So a lot of travel in our future, and that's what I'm most excited about right now.
Well, out of all those trips, which one are you looking forward to the most, and what do you think is going to be the most challenging out of those trips?
I'm most looking forward to Maine.
That's what I would say too.
I haven't been there before.
Me either.
The house that we're doing is stunning. It's just like a quaint, cottage. Mm-hmm. So I'm most looking forward to that. I think Chicago might be the hardest, just with kind of finagling the details of getting in and out of a high rise. That's always difficult.
Oh,
there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of phone calls. There's a lot of scheduling issues.
Well, from one thing I've learned from watching you guys work together in the Walk the Line episode is that you guys are constantly communicating, constantly making sure things are put together. And it's a never ending battle with what's going on. But you guys make it look so easy. But now, Aimee, you got some questions you got to answer, because we have a crowd noise section. So we're going to put you on right now. Blair, it was amazing talking to you. Okay. So we have a section on our show called Crowd Noise, where people get to ask you questions. And I got 3 questions in here. You may be able to recognize a couple of their voices. Okay. Okay. So you ready to do crowd noise?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Aimee, here's my question for you. So when you first meet a client and you first look at the space, what comes to your head on fulfilling their needs and creating your vision of the space?
Okay. Do you want me to replay that, or are you good?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I know who it is.
Who was that?
That is Mr. Ali Daher.
Shout out to Ali. Yeah. And, he basically asked, how do you change each space and how do you take communication from everyone to make that space unique?
I like to hear my client and, learn a little bit about them, what they're into. And then I'm looking for opportunities in the house that can be what can we do with some room to make an impact right off the bat when people come in, and that screams, who they are and what their style or what they're interested in. So I'm always looking for those opportunities.
And then what have been some of the most craziest designs that you've ever had to do, where someone, not craziest, but something so unique that you're like, oh, really? That's what you want?
You know what? This was with I worked with Julie Couch Interiors for a couple years, two different times. And we had a client who had an affinity for the color red. And I can't say who it is because it's a very high profile client in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And, Julie Couch does not use red, like fire engine red, like the red that's on your art. Uh-huh. Even more red. I don't use it a lot. A lot of designers don't use it. It's actually an activating color. It makes, it's like, there's a lot of energy in it. And it makes sense for this person because he is in the public eye. He's on his feet. Does something similar to what you do. So it brings a lot of energy. So it actually makes the color science in here makes a lot of sense because you got a lot of red going on and you're very high energy. So that might have something to do with what happens in here. This person may actually
wear red glasses, but that's just my thought. But
I don't know. We'll have to talk after the show.
I think I already know who it is because you said red. But in Nashville, there's a few people that like to use red and that are high profile, but we're not going to say their name. But anyway, one thing, this is completely off guard, but this is something that I realized. So I know that some people love Taco Bell. Do you have Taco Bell fans in the building? No, I'm not a Taco Bell.
You know what? Honestly, I eat a lot of fast food because we're in our car and we don't really have a lunch break.
At all.
Oh my gosh! Give me a fillet of fish from McDonald's. I call them fish and chips because my husband is super judgy of me when I go to McDonald's and get a fillet of fish. He's like, that's disgusting.
Well,
but I call it's fish and chips.
Did you know?
It's actually really good.
Did you know that when you go into back in the day in the 90s, the Taco Bell in the 90s, they had such interesting colors inside the building. And the whole point of it was that they realized that certain colors made customers not want to sit inside. Did you know that?
No, it's not. Well, probably not. They would sit inside, but they wanted a high turnover. So they would use colors to make people uncomfortable after maybe 10, 15 minutes. Lots of red. McDonald's uses lots of red. Burger King, lots of red. Arby's.
What's another color?
Orange, yellow.
Correct. Yeah, yep. That's absolutely.
Some browns.
Yes.
Some nasty brown colors. Yeah.
Super bright lighting.
Very institutional.
Uh-huh.
And not I do think that's interesting though, because a lot of these fast food restaurants have changed their interior design to be it feels more like modern. A home. Mm-hmm. And you know what though? You know why I think they've done it? And I've never thought about this before. There has been so much focus on these fast food restaurants and concentrated animal farming and how bad fast food is for you. So I think that's their way of attracting people, changing the narrative, reinventing themselves, being more responsible with maybe, I don't know how responsible, but maybe changing things up with where they source.
I think so. Yes, I know that was such a random off trail thing, but we were talking about colors in red. Mm-hmm. And that was one story I read a long time ago about specifically Taco Bell, because Taco Bell would use colors like orange, yellow, red inside purple inside their interior to make it so bright that it made people, they'd go in, but they'd quickly leave. So I didn't think of it as in turnover for more customers. So I love that.
And I do love Taco Bell. They've got some really great, cheap options. And if you don't want meat or dairy, they've got some good vegetarian options too.
Hey, no judgment here. I'm not a Taco Bell eater, but I am a McDonald's eater and a Chick-fil-A connoisseur. Yeah. But anyway, so let's get on to the second question here. Here we go.
Whoa. Aimee, what motivated you to be an interior designer? And another question I have is, I know it's very challenging. So what's the most challenging design for you to do?
First, I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
I'm so intrigued.
Okay.
Are you going to tell me?
I'm not going to tell you.
I love her accent. What got me into interior design, after I had gotten booted from college the first time, I felt really bad about that. But I also was like, I'm going to move to Nashville. And I'm so thankful that I did that. That booting got me to Nashville because I was like, what am I going to do? My mom was living here. I didn't really love what I was doing in Ohio. And I missed my mom a ton. And I just wanted to be in the same city, go grocery shopping with her, something just like really vanilla. But so I came down here and just, cocktail waitress. Then that led into bartending, which really broke me out of my shell. I got really comfortable with people. I love people. I love meeting new people. I am not scared of people anymore. I love playing with people.
Got it. Okay.
Conversing and just like having fun, which makes what I do
so much
just
funner.
A dream come true because I get to do that all day. But through a long chain of different jobs and knowing Nashville, in my late 20s and into my 30s, I was working as a resident manager because I didn't have my real estate license. So I was living on site with this old apartment complex. It was built in 1912. Stone, brick, concrete, beautiful, beautiful building. It's right across the street from Belmont University. Everyone knows who it is. There's been so many celebrities that have lived there. Jack White had a writing studio there for a while when I was there.
Really?
Yeah, super, just random and very cool, artful community. Loved it. I lived there first and I ended up working there for 10 years. And to maintain the integrity of the building, we would do renovations. And I started really loving, taking things down to the lathing and redoing them, but modernizing them, using a lot of the same like classic finishes, subway tile, keeping the hardwoods, just refinishing. Because you can't get any better than old hardwood floors.
Yep,
You just
that's
can't.
so true.
And I just was like, a light bulb went off and I was like, I want to go back and finish my degree. I felt incomplete not having my degree. I don't know what it was, but it prompted me to want to do design. And so I went and I got my interior design degree. It was a 4-year program. It took me 8 years because I was working, an adult, like in my mid 30s, going back to school. So that's how I got into interior design. But when I pay attention to my childhood, I was a pretty good kid, but I would get grounded frequently when I was a teenager. I just got grounded a lot. And I would rearrange my room and I would reinvent my room all the time. And also, to give my mom a ton of credit, I don't know that she knows this, but she, when we moved into that farmhouse when I was probably 6 years old, my room, I rode horses. We had horses. I rode English. She found the coolest from JCPenney's when you could order like home decor and wallpaper and borders. So we had this like country blue wallpaper with like these little floral patterns. The border to my room, because I got to pick it out, which was a big deal, was this like hunt scene with horses. And I had it going all around my room. I got a blue canopy bed with like this beautiful frills. And I loved my room so much. And I think that's honestly what like set in motion what I would do later on in life. Yeah, wow. I love that.
I love that. Okay, so we got another question. My last question. Let's see what this one has to say.
Hey, Amy, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment of 2022?
What was your biggest accomplishment in 2022, so last year?
You know what? This is maybe going to sound weird. I would say, we got on the cover of Nashville Interiors magazine.
Here, you hold it up.
We got on our friend Holly, the editor and founder, well, not the founder, but owner of Nashville Interiors. She has made this magazine just like brilliant. We got on the cover with Paul Jolly did the decor in this room. We worked with Leverick Holmes and we built this house. We dreamt it up. We built it. We picked all the finishes. This really cool coffered ceiling detail. That was ours. So, this house in every way is, belongs to Leverick Home and and us.
It was gorgeous, by the way. So for everyone saying this, and just in case, I'm going to plug it again. You guys did this amazing cover. It had a nice special, had written everything about the home, and that was all interior design that you were able to put together. And I mean, I'm guessing, was that your first major publication as an interior designer?
We actually were published in that in 2021 in the summer issue for a house that we did in Hendersonville on the lake. And that was the first time I'd ever been in a magazine. That was a really big moment for me. So I was just so tickled to be asked by Visual Comfort. They have a store in Nashville, and they actually had the cover and asked us if we would participate because we had so much Visual Comfort brand lighting in this house. We were able to do that, and that was just a really big moment. But I will add to that, something 2022 in a big way did for me was it taught me all the things that I really needed to work on and get better at. 2022 was a huge year for making giant mistakes that were not good for my business, but important mistakes for me to learn from. And I think that that's a huge thing. And anything anyone ever does is you have to pay attention to the things that aren't working, and you have to figure out a way through them, and don't let it keep you down. You know, I wish some of the stuff wouldn't have happened, but it makes me a better designer in 2023. And I am more excited this year than ever for my business. And I feel like, you know, we're paying attention to those things and we're moving forward, and nothing's going to stop us. We love what we do. And I think this is it's already been a really big year for us. Like Blair mentioned, we've got out of state projects. We really are just paying attention to the things and the people that we love working with and taking on more of that and letting some of the other things go that we don't need to be doing. And I feel like the sky's the limit. I love that we have such a small team. And we've got an office in cool East Nashville.
You're a team this
we
up
love
perfectly.
It.
So yeah, and then I guess let's kind of end the conversation on your awesome office on East Nashville.
Yeah.
And how people can find you.
Yep.
And like you said, you already talked about the projects, but keep going.
Oh my gosh. So the biggest thing that I'm really excited about that I would love everyone to come to, we never really did a soft opening or anything for our design business. You know, our clients have seen our place, but it's by appointment only. We are having our first art gallery show for just this incredible artist. His name's Eric Brown. He lives in North Carolina with his family. He is a very well-known photographer, and he started this passion project where he's shooting landscapes in his state that he lives in now, the desert in, out west. And this family has a really beautiful story that you'll learn if you come. But it's June 15th. It's from 5 to 8 at our studio. Our address is 1101 Chapel Avenue, Suite 116. The zip is 37206. If you're not doing anything that night, please come. It's going to be a really incredible night of good people, good food, good wine or bourbon. Please come.
Absolutely.
I'm going to send you a paperless post evite. I've got to do that this week.
Well, we got to try to get you on Local On too. That would be a great place to get you on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's see if the great Laura that is out there can get you guys on, because
that'd be amazing.
That sounds like such a fun thing to do. I mean, not only that.
And one important thing that I wanted to mention is, this is very fine art that he's going to have on display, and it will be for sale. And one of the things that I'm most proud of and that we're most excited about is that 10% of every sale of every piece of art from that show is going to go towards a foundation that helps children that are born with severe handicapped issues that they might only live to be 5 or 6 years old. This family has a personal story with that that's really beautiful and heartbreaking. I could cry even just thinking about it. But here's the thing. It is going to be your grand opening for the public to see. Yes, for the public to see what we do. I mean, our space is going to be transformed for the night. We're going to take all of our desks and everything out of there. So it's going to be an art gallery. We have a lot of blank space on our walls. So it's just super excited to do that. And if you can't come that night, we're actually going to have some pieces on display. If he doesn't completely sell out that night, we're going to have them on display for the next month or two. So he'll have a residency at ALK Design.
All right. one thing that I'm looking forward to is showing everyone your day in the life. Now, what's a little unique about our situation is that I've gotten to completely see the day in the life ahead of time. So what can the people see right now that's going to be, can you kind of tee it up before we go straight into your day in the life?
So you're going to see it in two parts. The first day in the life part is us on install day when everything has just come in, is in the process of being delivered into this condo at Broad West for our client. And so it kind of looks a little bare, very unfinished. And we're just there directing traffic. One of our clients, actually another client in the building, popped in to take a look at a rug that we had brought for him to view because, we were there. And you get to talk to him, Tony G, and his wife, Stacia.
Shout out to Tony G.
Tony G. He's awesome. So, and then the second part is you came back after we finished, there's a lot that happens between delivering the furniture, steaming the bedding, making it, feel decorated with decor items that we bring in, fresh plants or faux plants for the sake of that condo. So yeah, you're going to see it finished. So you see it in the beginning and behind the scenes with the teams that we have there that day. I think our painter, came. Our moving team was there, a couple different moving teams. So it was everything.
And then lastly, I want everyone to be able to find you. So how can they find you? And, just like I said, you already said what you're looking forward to. I'm excited to see that grand opening for the public.
Yeah.
But definitely just shout out all the social medias and everything so they can find you.
So we're only on Instagram. It's the only, I can only keep up with one.
I completely understand. I get you.
We're not on TikTok. We're not on Twitter or anything else. So on Instagram, we're ALK Design and Interiors, all spelled out. And then we have a website and it's AimeeLeeKinsiesDesign.com. And you guys can find us there.
All right. Well, you know how we set this up. You always look straight into the camera right there. You say your name, you say the organization, and you end it with, now this is how I walk the line.
Yep.
And we will see your day in the life. You ready to go? All right. So I'm going to give you this applause and point to you. Look directly in that camera right there.
My name's Aimee Lee Kinssies, and I'm owner of Aimee Lee Kinssies Design, or ALK Design and Interiors. And this is how I walk the line.
Hey.
You're filming us mid-install. So this unit was empty, had no furniture in it earlier today. We brought in the rugs, we brought in the furniture. Well, we didn't, but we directed our teams. So we've got Black Tie Moving Company here with us today. We work with a warehouse, but a lot of these moves, because things book out so far in advance, we have to bring in other teams. So today we brought in Black Tie Movers. So this is one of our team members.
Hey, how you doing, man?
And then we've got a couple more team members in here. And right now they're just going above and beyond for us and helping us assemble some furniture. They don't normally do that. But they're making an exception for us today to just make this happen. Like I said, it takes a village, and these guys are amazing.
And talk to me a little bit about the vision for this room here.
So the vision for this room, as well as the whole condo, is, we wanted it. These are world travelers, the people that are moving into this condo, and so we wanted it to feel very European and modern and cozy, similar to what you might find going into a Soho house. Like, we have a Soho house in Nashville, they've got them in Paris, and these people have seen high design, so we were just trying to mimic that here. This is not the finished product, but
Got it.
It'll be great when it's finished. So today is the day that we install all the furniture, roll out the rugs, get all the furniture placed. And then tomorrow will be, we're gonna put all the bedding on, and we're gonna steam the bedding, we're gonna hang art, coffee table books down on the table, and styling, bringing in flowers and making it very turnkey so that when the client walks in the door, it's completely finished and they feel like they're at home. Back to the unit 2106 at Broad West. We were here a few weeks ago. As you'll recall, we were installing furniture and just getting started with our installation. So I wanted to invite you guys back to see what we did with the place. It happens in layers. It took a few weeks for us to install the furniture, get all the bedding, get everything steamed, place things to make sure that everything feels like home for this couple. So let me show you around. Saw it all. You saw it from the beginning, install day, to completion. So you're seeing the beginning and the end. Again, thank you so much for following along. My name is Aimee Lee Kinssies and I own ALK Design and Interiors. You can follow us on Instagram. Our website is aimeeleekinsiesdesign.com. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for following along.